time for the Abesids to come out. Let's see if he can make it a clean run here in the grand finals and get himself a big bulk of points on the weekly accruement for the road to Red Bull Wololo.
And do keep in mind that these points that you get in the weeklies, these qualify you for the monthly event, which will, in the end, give you tickets to Heidelberg should you finish in the top 2. But there's a second thing here. If you are among the best participants of the weekly events, if you are one of the players amassing the most points that have not yet qualified for the Heidelberg LAN from the monthlies, you will also get a ticket. So just getting a decent amount of points from the weeklies by itself is already valuable for B, even if he can't secure his spot in the monthly event.
It's an interesting dynamic as well. It means, you know, these people that are maybe not feeling the pressure that they are feeling the monthlies, they're a little bit more experimental, they maybe get an opportunity. I don't know, some people will be like, well, does that feel fair to, like, you know, you not being able to handle the pressure? I like that it offers up an opportunity. I think there's a beautiful thing about the consistency element in this format. Like, if you turn up on the weeklies and you don't even need to stomp outright every single one. If you actually get to the final day on every single one, you could easily be one of the 2 people qualifying from weekly points.
It's a nice dynamic, as you said. You can qualify to the Heidelberg LAN. Oh, she getting yoinked away! Ooh, painful for B.
B. Whoopsie.
It's a big mistake out there. But as you said, you can qualify by just having one insane run in a monthly. Like, anyone could really qualify just by having an insane run in a monthly. Or you could also qualify by just having very consistent, decent performances all across the board in the 16 weeks of this Road to Wololo event. So there's a very interesting dynamic. Whatever your style is, whether you prefer highlight moments and having one good performance or having consistent, decent performances, this format opens up the possibility for you to have a chance for a ticket to Heidelberg.
We just have to see what the possibility is going to be for B. It's got to be said, though, limited food in that situation is bad, but he at least has reserve sheep, no, but reserve berries behind his base. Actually, look at that generation. Wood is a problem for him, but I gotta say, this is a defendable area if you want to play into the berries. Not only here, but behind his base in the corner.
Yeah, one thing that is scary, look at this location that Core is showing us right now. Berries, double stones, and a gold mine right next to one another. That is definitely an exposed area. He's probably more than happy that he's up against a non-tower rushing civilization like the Delhi, because if he was up against the Mongols here, this would be a lot more troublesome.
I'm wondering, maybe you want to tower rush as the Abbasids, but I guess not. I mean, I've seen it. B just doesn't subscribe to that thought process. We've seen he's one of your kind of atypical TC boomers. When we watched him up against Wham on Lipany, it was 3, but I would expect it to be more likely 2 on this map, simply because Lipany, that generation, was choke point oriented. You could easily get away with it. 3 TCs here will get punished.
Exactly, that's a big difference between the two. In that game that he has played against Wham, he got away with a 3TC build and essentially just using the camels and the horsemen as a unit composition to buffer up against Delhi aggression until he had a good enough eco to just overwhelm Delhi. But on this map, you really can't get away with 3TCs even if you have a standing army. It's just too much. By the time you get to the third one, your opponent is going to have an army that is sufficient enough to just deny it. So unless your base is very condensed, it's going to be difficult to expend towards additional resources with it. You will have to have a somewhat of a different game plan here for B, but he knows this himself. So this is not going to be the exact same game plan that he has used against Wham on Lipany.
No, I think the interesting thing about Dry Arabia for Abbasids is, depending on the seed, you can get away with 3 TCs, but you have to have tree lines that allow it to be desirable. Like, if you took MarineLorD spawn, for example, with all those kind of clustered tree lines, creating a natural woolable area, I would say that that would be a good spawn for 3 TCs. But this, if you build 3 TCs, you deserve every piece of pain coming your way.
Yeah, it's gonna be obvious for MarineLorD that B is going for an additional town center here. The question is, how many town centers are we going to see here? For MarineLorD, he's opening up with a stable. We have seen that in the set that B played against Wham, his response to the cavalry was just going camel archers straight away. So we'll have to see if B does this again. So far, he's yet to add a production building, if I'm not mistaken, and he's going to opt to go for a barracks first.
Yeah, playing defensive as expected. It means that MarineLorD can't dive in on the stone line if you somehow had a horseman coming out already. And also, when you start to reach out these berry patches, because you have finite resources, you're going to have a unit to push back, because it's unlikely that MarineLorD is going to rush into archers, as that usually ends up being the last thing Delhi adds to the triple retinue.
Exactly, that's the last thing that the Delhi adds to the triple. They might need to consider doing that, because now you're up against spearmen, you're gonna be up against camel archers, and you desperately need something that's capable of dealing with both. But for now, it looks like it's only a handful of horsemen, and MarineLorD is going to follow this up with a blacksmith. So for now, his unit composition is going to be very much one-dimensional, but he's essentially gambling on the fact that the Abbasid player won't be doing that much aggression anyways, so he can get away with that.
And attention is going to be drawn to where Core's looking on that screen right there. Because if you look at all these resources you already highlighted that B might want, the gold, the stone, even maybe the deer eventually, look a little bit north. MarineLorD wants to be here as well. That's where the 2 sacred sites are. So all attention is going to be drawn to the left side. Curious to see if B will exploit that to get some free economy on the right side, especially in that corner where he's got reserve berries. And there you go. There's the posture of the TC. Not on the sacred site because there's not value there, but close enough that you start to extend influence in that direction.
We have seen more and more of the players drop town centers on the sacred sites directly, simply to deny the Delhi away from it, and B was one of the players who did that very frequently. But as you said, this time around there is no value right next to the sacred site. Is it still going to be good enough as like a forward stronghold, something that can act as a fallback option? And it's going to be good enough as a staging ground for an assault or just you contesting that sacred site. But in this case, B had to drop it closer to that deer patch or just further away from that sacred site, simply because there was no direct value associated with dropping a town center on the sacred site.
And you saw correctly, MarineLorD has gone early into the archers. It makes sense when you're up against the Abbasids, but let's consider a downside here. What do you get better gathering rates on as the Delhi? Food, berries, not wood. So it puts more strain in your economy, and you get worse returns if you have to go into archers earlier.
Sanctity just now finishing. As are the blacksmith upgrades. We're yet to see a single camel archer from B. He's going double stable horseman for a time being.
Yeah, I actually like this, because you can somewhat overwhelm MarineLorD at this pace, because of what I just mentioned with the archers. I don't know if he scouted the archers or he's seen a few running out, but like that should inform this play and make him feel confident. Not only do you counter out the archers with a lot of horses, but on top of that, like I just said, you're focusing more on wood than you are on food, and you gather wood slower than you gather food as the Delhi. So you're not getting as good an exchange, a better bang for buck, should we say, with this format.
Indeed. For the time being, sacred sites are not taken. We have the first sacred site being captured right now. Horseman number is not looking satisfactory here for B though. He is only at 2 and he's up against 6 archers already to deal with. He also has to deal with 4 horsemen here. Right now, unit composition looking much better for MarineLorD, who is just now finishing with the blacksmith upgrades as well.
And we can turn that into a series. Just before fights clash, you see the counts, and you're like, would you call this count of horsemen satisfactory? Not satisfactory. Kind of like what happens next series. Oh, man. We need that in AoE4, actually. We don't have that anywhere. Love those things.
Yeah, like, what happens next? Yeah, we show an image of like 50 arbalestry against 7 mangonels. What happens next?
Somehow all the mangonels die. It's like the multi-choice ones, right? Like you need the multi-choice. A boar gets aggroed and all mangonels die. There you go. That wouldn't happen. Awesome. Not an optimal fight here, but it looks like he's splitting up to look for clues. It's Blue's clues mode for B as he's trying to decap any or all sacred sites if he can.
Yeah, 3 sacred sites now under the control of MarineLorD, and another difference between this game and the game that B played with the Abbasids against the Delhi of Wham was that in that game, Wham never got beyond 2 sacred sites, whereas for MarineLorD, despite losing that one scholar out there, he's not gonna care because he's already on 3 sacred sites, forcing B to also make a move to decap one of those. Oh, nice dance around.
Stockpiling troops, but MarineLorD's going up. Tech is underway. Combat Defender, he loves this choice. Very good at manipulating the map, getting good keep drops to defend his win condition. And also the other signature thing we're looking for is the relic pickup. Something that he might struggle with in this game, considering the amount of horsemen that B is building.
Exactly, it's a little riskier than usual, but when you said signature thing, I was thinking about the village fortresses, because that's something that he likes to prioritize a lot more than many other players. Sometimes even dropping a mosque next to a keep, so he's going to have the research speed buff. We have seen that in the previous set against Vortex.
Oh, that's like bashing the door down and then discovering it was unlocked.
Yeah, I was like, that was weird. Speaking of which, this timing could be really good here for B. He hit the same timing against Wham. And look at the army numbers. 29 to 12. He might even deny that landmark. Uh-oh. MarineLorD could be in trouble here.
No, he'll commit it to complete it. Lidakor, correction, this timing would have been good for B if he realized the door was unlocked straight away. He realizes it's too late. The tech up is indeed going to complete for MarineLorD. Castle Age is reached.
Yeah, nice timing over there for MarineLorD. He got away with one. B, if he found this a little sooner, he could have done a tremendous amount of damage over here. He's still yoinking a couple of villagers away, and do keep in mind that MarineLorD's standing army right now is far from being spectacular. Men-at-Arms though being added to the mix, and this time around, B doesn't have camel archers to deal with them like he had against Wham.
Although, keep in mind that you're still dealing with spears and phalanx, right? This is where the man-at-arms are a bit dicey. We've seen how comical it is how many spears have to kill a man-at-arms, like they're the main hero in a story. But the cool thing about the Abbasids is you get that critical damage quicker because they're not just scrambling over each other to circle the target.
Exactly, like the Phalanx is a big game changer over here. It increases your effective DPS against like high-value targets like, let's say, men-at-arms. But as we were speaking about that, MarineLorD is trained on a different type of resource, that is food. He doesn't have food, and he lost the sacred sites as well. He can't add men-at-arms.
Greedy boy. Wololo's maybe can convert a few people to his side to help. He's going to need it here because he's trying to pick up the relics as well. That also got spotted. B is just spreading out everywhere. Look how many horsemen he's got in tow. 18 spreading out across the field. He's going to deny any upside MarineLorD could get. And it's going to be an oopsie downside for him in this situation because that food on the TC soon to run out and no farmland transition in sight.
Very similar approach to what we have seen in the previous game with the French timing push. This time around it's an Abbasid timing push, and it's gonna get even worse for MarineLorD because not only is he just being stuck in his base, Castle Age now on the way for B. Army advantage, map control advantage, soon Castle Age as well here for B, and match point on his side. This is looking grim for MarineLorD here, I'm not gonna lie.
Needs to stop piling enough man-at-arms. Compared to Wham's situation, he still has enough breathing room to potentially do so, but he needs to get that food. He needs to keep it coming. He could use the wood to sidestep, but with such a condensed base, it doesn't leave much room for safe farms. Uh-oh.
And look at the interception of the monks. He's not even giving him a single relic. No sacred sites. Bear is denied. Relics denied. Those horsemen are paying for their price so well.
And I don't think Force March is anywhere near ready either. So MarineLorD, like, you're building man-at-arms, but you're like, wait, come back, fight me. No, sorry, I've got a dentist appointment. I can't hang out. Like, he's that person, like, you turn up, you sit down at the table, your food, and everyone just gets up and walks away. These guys can't find the fight they're looking for.
You were saying dentist appointment, but it's more like a funeral appointment. At this point, he is going to the funeral of MarineLorD because MarineLorD is now down to 35 villagers only. And he has castle, or he has stone for a castle. Well, village fortresses is just a dream right now. A dream he may never reach.
Dental appointment to a funeral parlor. I mean, that is the most lethal root canal I've ever heard of. But it feels appropriate because B is just drilling into MarineLorD right now. Tech up almost complete. When it is, we could maybe see 3 relics for the Abbasids. I'm not against B doing that play, especially considering he went for 2 TCs. Oh my, it's almost complete. And when it is, that we could see a transition coming out. Look at that, B switching over. You want to see your Camelot.
Let's go.
Against man-at-arms. Here they come.
Yeah, he sacrificed all his horsemen over here. He knew that he just wants to delay MarineLorD as long as possible. Now wants to switch into Camel Archers because he knows MarineLorD can't afford to make a tech switch. MarineLorD hard committed into the men-at-arms play, and he doesn't have the eco to tech switch. Camel Archers can wipe out this entire army, especially if supported by a handful of crossbows as well.
Camel Archer is going to easily pick apart the Wololo boys. Whoopsie, just about moves out in time. Needs to respect the party. MarineLorD does have a clutch recovery point here. Look at the stone. He can get a defensive keep drop that can maybe consolidate his earnings here. Maybe even allow him to eventually go into that village fortress as we mentioned earlier.
He's got no stone income. So he's at 717 and he's got
He's got
Compound
Compound
Defender. Yeah, okay,
Yeah,
he can afford
so
one.
You get one.
He can get one, but that's it. The problem is resources. If you make a defensive cost in your base right now, you will be suffocated within your base because you simply have no map control and resource access. MarineLorD taps out!
B! With the clean 3-0 absolute dominance, just giving MarineLorD the rope to see himself out. Greed will kill him off, and B will win the first July weekly in the Red Bull Road to Wololo.
The name of the game is the timing push. Every single time MarineLorD wanted to get his timing advantage, B diagnosed that perfectly. Game number 2, the HRE timing, he just drilled it twice, not just once. The timing of the Castle Age with the aggression from B, then the timing of the Imperial Age from MarineLorD, and the timing push from B, and now this game as well. He knew when those timings are coming into play, and his timings on the push were in line with those every single time. Ultimately wins the set with critical and well-designed timing pushes.
Pristine performance. You know, B's make buzz noises, and that seems appropriate because if B has performance like this, he's going to be like Buzz Lightyear to infinity and beyond. If he plays like this consistently, he is without a doubt a clear shoe-in for Wololo. This was dominance. Not over one of the top 8 players, but multiple. We saw his performance against Beastie. Beastie was scrambling to react, and that is the beautiful thing I love about B. It's why he's been one of my favorite players to watch since day one.